Let's talk about with what all entities we can use this access modifiers, right? Because we spoke about three entities, one is class, one is methods, and the third one is data members. So let's say for each access modifiers, can we use all these access modifiers with each and every entity? So let's talk about it. The first one is public. You can use public, the access modifier public, both with class, right, with a method, and also with a data member. So with all of the three, you can use it freely. What about default? Same, similar to public, you can use the default modifier for all classes, methods, and data member. Now, whenever you have to make anything public, you need the keyword public. But if you have to give an access modifier as default, there is no requirement of any keyword, right? No keyword is required. Now, what about private? You can use private or you can make private what methods? Methods can be made private. Data members can be made private. Now, what about classes? With classes, we have a slightly different rule. You can use private with classes, but only for inner classes or nested classes. So only when there are nested classes, you can make those as private, because the definition of private says that the access to whatever entity you make as private, the access is only limited into the class in which it is defined. So imagine you cannot make a top level class as private, right? Because then that will not make sense. What do I mean by that is, suppose if I have class A, right? Let's say I have some data members here, right? And I also have a method here, correct? I can have one more inner class, let's say class B, and have some definition. Now this class B is not top level, right? Class B is actually a nested class, or it's an inner class of class A, correct? So now this class B can be made as private. This is okay, but I cannot add a private here and for the top level class, because this is the top level class, right? Class A. I cannot make this private because then the definition does not make sense, right? So please remember this. What about protected? Similar to private, we can actually use protected with methods. We can simply use it with data members as well. But at the same time, for classes also, you cannot make the top level class as protected, because what does protected mean? Protected mean that the access is available in the class and also to all the subclasses which are present in the same package or different packages, but they need to be a child of those main class, right? So again, you cannot make your top level classes protected, right? Even in fact, it is not required. Now here there is one interview question which is usually asked, and it revolves around private and constructor. So the question goes, can you make a constructor private? What is it? Can you make a constructor private? And the answer is yes, you can make the constructor private. And then the second question then students usually the interviewer asks is, if I make my constructor private, right? Why would I want to do it? The reason why a constructor is made private is because if you want to apply singleton pattern, there is a design pattern which is called a singleton, which means that you only want to restrict, the number of objects which can be created on a class. If you want only one object can be created of a class, then you can do so by making the particular constructor as private, and it is basically called as singleton design pattern, right? So usually it's only the first part where they ask you, can the private keyword use with constructor? And the answer is yes. Okay, hope this helps.